the accusations and counter-accusations, as well as the preparedness, as we are now 26 days to the general election, and there's that tussle about the presidential ballot tender. Just how prepared are we, and how is that going to pan out? So just joining me to have this discussion in studio, I have to my immediate right Charles Kipkule, who is a political analyst. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We have Martha Marwa, who is an ANC candidate in Kajiado for the woman representative position. And we also have Dr. Temi Mutie, who is part of the NASA Secretariat. Many thanks for joining us this morning. So let's just begin by talking about that. We have just spoken to our reporter, Chris Tairu, who is in Kisumu, and who expected to take his campaigns there. Do you think that, the Jubilee Party is making any inroads, particularly in that region and in other perceived? We've seen them going time and again to the western region. Would you say, Charles, that they are making inroads to the opposition zones?
I think thanks, Sharon, for having me today. And I think for the specific visit today to Nyanza, especially Luo Nyanza, the impact in terms of the return on votes is minimal. But it shows in other areas where it's perceived to be a stronghold, they are making some headways, probably in Bungoma County. But Luo Nyanza, I think NASA leader Raila Odinga has it in his
so is it an exercise in futility?
It is not an exercise in futility. What is happening, there is this emerging trend where the other week you saw Raila Odinga going to Kiambu, and he was received well, he spoke to the people, and he had issues that were really well received amongst the people.
Right.
And I've been repeating that this is a good thing for our country, because we are seeing that our leaders, unlike other past elections, are able to go and campaign even in the backyards of their opponents, and they are received well by the people. So it speaks well for the issue of unity.
Right.
But for political purposes, the strategy here is basically just to go and we say the other time, it is a nuisance value thing. You just go and try and distract, try and show that I can come to your place, make a statement that I'm also present here, so that you distract them and then come in, get out and try and get a few.
So is that, Dr. Tem, is that the statement that you're trying to make as NASA, even in Baringo today, because there are planned schedules to Chemolingot and Eldama Ravine, and also what's your take about Uhuru going to Kisumu and Homa Bay today?
NASA, for your information, is everywhere in this country, including Baringo, because the ordinary people in the grassroots, whether they're in Central, whether they're in Baringo, whether they're in Kisumu, they're all suffering the same under Jubilee. So when we go to talk to these people, a lot of them come to us privately and say, look, the issues you are talking, they relate with me directly. So we know there are our votes in Baringo. We know the issues in Baringo. So it is not cosmetic. We are going out there for real politics, and we are out there for real votes, and we are winning votes there.
So it's not a cosmetic, it's not making a statement.
It's for you.
All right. Martha, what's your take on that?
Uhuru being in Kisumu and Migori today, it's like Charles has said, it is a good sign of a nation that is united, and they have democracy, they are practicing their democratic right to request for votes from the Kenyans. And just like we said in Kiambu, people were there, they listened to the president, and like my friend here also says that what is affecting us, it doesn't matter whether it is NASA, whether it is Jubilee. The issue of Jubilee corruption, and it is affecting all of us. The issue of prices going high, it is affecting all of us. So we're both, let them try, but we know that NASA, we are taking it.
Okay, so a big thing that is happening and has been happening from over the weekend in the campaigns is the accusations of the judiciary. Jubilee is accusing the judiciary of being used by NASA to try and scuttle the August 8th elections. And of course the judges have come out strongly to say first they are non-partisan, and they're just doing their duty. What is your take on how Jubilee is doing this? Does it speak well for them to try and accuse this arm of government?
I think when you look at this, the challenge that President Uhuru faces is that when he goes to the campaign trail, he wears two hats. One of them is the president all the time, and secondly is the Jubilee flag bearer. So when he speaks sometimes as the flag bearer for Jubilee, it is difficult to look at Uhuru, the president, attacking the judiciary, which is where now the challenge comes to Kenyans, so that they are not able to distinguish the two. But strategically, I think for the past few months, you've seen a continuing trend of litigation against the IBC from NASA, and NASA has been winning most of these cases. And when they win the cases, they do a victory parade and they say we have won, Jubilee has lost. So what Jubilee was trying to do strategically was to detach themselves from this
and
feeling
try to
that
align then the judiciary with the opposition.
To make this a political issue to the extent that where there's been this feeling that when you go to court against the IBC and you win, then you've won against Jubilee. So there's been this perception that Jubilee is working in cahoots with IBC and the judiciary trying to scuttle the elections in terms of utilizing incumbency. So what Uhuru Kenyatta and the Jubilee leadership has been doing right now is to just try and detach themselves and create also this sense of victim mentality to Kenyans, that we are also not being treated fairly.
But isn't it double standards, because it is these same systems that upheld, President Uhuru's election?
I agree, it is double speak.
Right.
Because one thing we want to say here is that IBC is under attack. The judiciary is under attack. Come August, it is the IBC which is supposed to deliver a credible poll. Definitely there is going to be a contestation of these results. Then the aggrieved party shall go to the courts.
Right.
So right now, as we are heading to the August 8th election, the risk that Kenya faces is that the two institutions that shall determine the stability and even the peace of our country are under attack from both sides of the divide.
Right.
And it is time that Kenyans call them out and told them, hey, you need to stop. The IBC is independent. Also, the judiciary should be left to undertake its role as independent.
And how dangerous ground are we walking on, Dr.
Yeah,
Temi?
let me say this. It is very, very unfortunate that just the same way you've said that President Uhuru and his deputy were put in office by the same courts. And we respected that. And we have all agreed that if you are aggrieved as a citizen, whether as a political party or as a private citizen, the right place to go is not anywhere else but to the courts for litigation. For your information, we follow the law. Before we go to court, we normally do a lot of research. We normally do a lot of correspondences with the concerned institutions, particularly in this case IBC, until when we feel now we cannot proceed beyond that. That is when we go to court for arbitration. And of course, this is a political context. Once we've complained about the commissioners, we go to the streets, we get a new law, we celebrate. But then what does Jubilee do? They come down and hurried numbers, tyranny of numbers, they reverse quite a number of issues which we thought were resolved.
Right.
So where else do we go? We cannot go back to the streets 26 days to the elections. So we go to court. Now it is very unfortunate, and this trend must stop. Attacking the courts is not going to help anybody.
And
if
each time that you as NASA have gone to the courts, coincidentally or as what would have it, the cases have been won. And this is what now the Jubilee is using to say.
By the way, we are not just seeing it as victory. We are seeing it as not victory by NASA, but by the people of Kenya, because that is upheld in the law. So we are saying these are Kenyans who have won against this kind of, backtracking on their rights.
Right. And for me, this kind of smearing of the integrity of these institutions, the IBC and the courts, and these are the institutions that will be charged with, upholding the integrity of the elections. What does it mean then? Are we walking on such dangerous grounds?
First and foremost, they have to stop the attacks. As the president of the country, those attacks must stop, because they qualified to be appointed as to hold the different positions or the different offices, and attacking those independent, like the IBC and the judiciary, is a wrong message to our country. And my question is, when they keep on attacking, mentioning that the person who was involved in the judiciary is a relative to so and so, my question was, in case it was ruled otherwise, would that have emerged? I'm very sure it wouldn't have emerged.
Secondly, this was a three-bench judge. Three-judge bench.
Right.
Three judges. Why pick only on one? Why are they not also saying what these others said? So really, let's not go below that. And that's the lowest I think we can go as a country.
Okay,
and another thing maybe to add on top of that, for me, I look at it as a very independent institution. Kenya is really improving in terms of being independent, making the decisions without the government coming in. For us, it is a plus to all Kenyans.
All right, let's just take one story before we continue with the conversation. And the Orange Democratic Movement leaders have told of President Uhuru Kenyatta over his criticism of the judiciary. Speaking while campaigning in Siaya, the leaders say that Uhuru's presidency was a result of a court decision and that he should accept whatever decisions courts give or appeal if dissatisfied. The leaders, led by Siaya Senator James Orengo, MPs Oburu Oginga, Gladys Wanga and Opiyo Wandayi, urged voters to vote against the Jubilee government on the August election.
Jubilee not pretend that there is no time. We know there is sufficient time to print ballot papers for the presidential elections for us to have elections on the 8th of August 2017. And President Uhuru should not make the mistake of thinking that we in ODM were interested in tenders. ODM has said in its manifesto that the leaders within ODM and in NASA will not engage in any government business. We are not interested in any government business. This company in Dubai called Al Ghurair, one of the reasons why we are objecting to this company was because there was information which you have now seen prominently in some sections of the media that the president had connections with the leadership and directors of that company. We cannot allow a company with some association with the president who is a presidential candidate like Raila Amolo Odinga to print the ballot papers for the presidential election. That one we cannot allow.
We are ready, as NASA, we are ready for elections on 8th of August. And we know we have the numbers, 10 million plus, and we know that you're going to go home, and we know that the judiciary so far has performed their duty up to standard. They are exercising their independence to arbitrate on issues. There is no reason to attack them. There is no reason to reduce confidence on the public on the judiciary.
With the ruling, but he accepts it because it was by the court. And Uhuru, you know very well that you are a product of that ruling. You are a product of the court. Yes, it is the court which gave you the presidency. Now, what has happened? These same courts which gave you the presidency have now turned to be your enemies, and have now you are now calling them associates of the opposition. I want to tell you, Uhuru, that what you are doing is just a desperate move, because you know you are losing the elections. You are losing the elections, and you should just lose gracefully like you did in 2002.
And so, of course, Charles, as you see there, the opposition also has politicized this whole thing, saying that Jubilee is planning to reject the elections. That's why they're, turning the credibility of the courts. How do you see? Is this a, campaign thing? They're turning it to a campaign card? Yeah, well, they're turning it, as I said earlier, Sharon, I think what we are realizing in this election right now is that the NASA strategy this time round is primarily trying to create that narrative that we minus rigging, that we will win this election. Right. So to them, they come to they present themselves to Kenyans as victims of processes and systems that did not accord them a level playing field, which is why there is this continued trend of court cases. Right. And it has not just been court cases. The IBC fell under NASA's leadership when they went to the streets and they said Jubilee must fall. The NASA IBC as currently constituted must fall. You remember. So I think that has been the sustained narrative, to make sure that Kenyans look at them as victims of systems that need not accord them this fair and a level playing field in these elections. Right. But critically, I think from an objective perspective, I think there is hypocrisy and double speak across the divide. Because when you see leaders saying that Jubilee, the President Uhuru Kenyatta is a beneficiary of a court decision. Right. The implication here is that since you benefited from this court decision, then you need to keep quiet and not attack the IBC. But now, or the judiciary, sorry. Yeah. Now, when you look at this tender by Al Ghurair, the contestation was on the presidential level. Right. But these other low-level positions, there seems to be unanimity that Al Ghurair is okay to print these other low levels. What kind of picture does that paint? In all by-elections,
which I think court then and now NASA has won most of them. They are leaders who are beneficiaries of Al-Ghulai printed ballot papers who are now in leadership. And all of them shall be there in power. And I'm sure therefore, I think what we should be giving to Kenyans is that in as much as we want to tell President Uhuru Kenyatta to stop, to remain the statesman that he is and not attack the judiciary, when we have this narrative that it is wrong to attack the judiciary, we should also take the same message to opposition and tell them, guys, we need to allow the IBC to start preparing for the elections and critically allow Kenyans to build their confidence on the IBC so that it's able to deliver a credible poll. Because it does not make sense to say, don't attack the IBC judiciary, yet you are having a sustained attack on the IBC.
Okay, and we'll continue that. Dr. Temi, just hold your thought. We will continue with that particular argument when we come back. We want to take a short break now, but don't go too far. We have this discussion continuing in just a bit. Don't go too far.